you start recording for us and let us know when you're ready?
I've started the recording.
Okay. So good evening to our IA families. Thank you for being patient and letting us get started. All of our panelists are here. We're really excited to be able to be with you tonight and be in a position that we can welcome our students and families back for this school year after we've been on remote learning for the spring. We're really excited and know it's important to have our students with us, even if it is in a hybrid schedule. It will give us some contact and face-to-face time. So hopefully your students are with you right now. If they're not, please know we are recording this as a resource so that you can look back at it later if you want to use it for conversation with students or your children before the school year starts next week. So we hope this information will be helpful, but also engaging, and again, a good family conversation talking point about what the start of the school year may look like. What we'd like to do is Ms. Jen will go through a few protocols with us, and then we will do some introductions and begin.
Well, welcome everyone. I am Miss Jen, the librarian at IAA, just in case you don't know me or haven't seen me for 6 months and forgot what I look like. So we are using a Zoom webinar format. So the only people that you will see talking tonight are the panelists, but you do get to ask questions in the chat. We're going to try our best at the end of this presentation to address the questions that we can. I'm going to be keeping track of those questions and writing them down to give them to the person who I think would best answer them. And that being said, if we don't answer your question or you think of a question after this presentation, on the IAA webpage, there is a post with this meeting notice, and attached to it is a Google form where you can ask your questions, and we will try to get back to answering those and posting commonly asked questions that people are looking for answers for. So tonight we're just presenting what is going to be a lot of information, and it's probably going to make you think a lot. So please use the chat to ask questions. We will not be answering them in the chat, but I will be directing them to the panelists.
Thank you, Ms. Jen. And we'll start with introductions and then go to our PTO officers for introductions, and then our staff panelists will introduce themselves. For those who may be new to IA, my name's Kevin Robinson. I'm the principal, and then I will turn it over to Kate for introductions.
There. Yep. Hi, I'm Kate Bosco. I'm the PTO president.
And Kevin, perhaps you want to show the slide that has our names on it. I think that's next. Or maybe it's the one after that. Or maybe it got lost. That's okay. We go with the flow. That's how it goes.
So Rachel is also with our PTO.
Hey everyone, I'm Rachel Jolly. I'm a parent of a 5th grader, or Shayna Walker, and I'm entering my 4th year as treasurer of the PTO.
Hi, my name is Allie Wasco. I'm the school nurse at IA.
Hi everyone, I'm Meredith Hoisington. I am the school counselor at IA.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Anderson. I'm the school psychologist.
And hello, my name is Emily Titterton. I'm the arts coach.
So I'd like to say at the beginning of this, thank you to our panel and to many of our staff for helping to make this presentation and information possible for us tonight. Again, we hope this is helpful information to give you an idea of, and your students, most importantly, and parents, an idea of what the start and the school year will look like. To give you an idea of an overview, our PTO, our parent-teacher organization, will do a quick overview and an invitation to join us. We will then have a welcome back video that Mr. Leal, George Leal, was 2nd grade teacher, will be a 1st grade teacher this coming year, has produced, and many have contributed to, that we hope will be a great visual for students to engage and see what things will look like in a fun but informative way. Then we'll go through some priorities for the year, health protocols for a safe return, what student learning and our academic focus will be for the year, how we believe arts integration will support that, our library services, how those will work, social emotional supports, and how we will use restorative practices culture, all in supporting our students' return back to school this year. So we will begin with our fabulous PTO members sharing a bit with us about our parent-teacher organization.
Okay, so PTO is first and foremost, everyone that has a child who is an IAA student is automatically a member of the PTO, which means they get a vote and an opportunity to participate. We have lots of opportunities to volunteer. This would be my 5th year as PTO president or co-president, and I was really hoping to hand off leadership to someone else. So if anyone is interested in taking a leadership role in PTO, I would be willing to mentor them and pass on lots of information and history of the school so that that would be a smooth transition. We have meetings generally on the first Thursday of every month. That could change. I was really looking for someone who wants to spearhead meetings this year. After many years of trying to find interesting guest speakers and topics for PTO to explore, my well is a bit run dry. And so looking for someone who has a little more just inspiration for leading a good meeting, but it can also just be getting us through the PTO business. That said, our first meeting is going to be next Thursday. We wanted to have a meeting. We didn't want to wait until October to have our first PTO meeting. And so we'll meet on September 10th, and it will be a Zoom meeting, but it will be not this panel style. It'll just be a gathering, a virtual gathering of everyone. So everybody will have a chance to speak. We'll review the budget draft that Rachel and I worked with, review that, opportunity for input, tweak it, and hopefully vote on it. And we usually send out updates on the Google group, which is our email listserv. My email is here. Just send me an email if you would like to join the Google group and you haven't been receiving our emails yet. We will also try to put information out on the Facebook page. I'm not always great at keeping up with Facebook, but in this virtual time, we're going to really try to reach more people than just the Google group participants. So that's my fast and furious summary, because I know Kevin has a lot to cover tonight. But Rachel, do you want to add anything else?
Yeah, only the fact that the treasurer is on the panel shows how desperate we are for leadership, more leadership roles. Really, I just deal with the money. I deal with the money, and Kate has been dealing with everything else, and there is a lot to support. We have so much to be proud of at IAA. There's a lot that the PTO has done in the past, and there's a lot we can do in the future. I do think that one of the silver linings of the COVID times is that we have an opportunity to be even more inclusive with some models. You know, the weekday evening thing wasn't working for everybody likely, and this year we can look at all kinds of ways to be more inclusive and accessible. Equity has a line item in our budget, so we do have resources that we want to put towards that, and we just welcome your creativity and ideas and different kinds of models of leadership. So Kate and I are totally open and welcome, and really our role is just to support the aspiring leaders of the PTO, which is all of you. So spread the word too to other families who may not be on this call, and let them know that any and all voices are welcome, and we're here to support you in whatever way we can.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kate and Rachel, for the support and all you've been doing to contribute to our IA students and school and community. It's been a year that I've been working with you, but I can say to our families, there certainly has been a lot of dedication, commitment, and sweat energy given by Kate and Rachel. So thank you to both of you. Okay, so next, again, Mr. Leo and many of our staff, as I get ready to hit play on this, this is a little video to give our students, and again, hopefully they'll have an opportunity with our families to watch this if they're not with you now. We're hoping that you'll make time for your students and go through this entire presentation just with some talking points. But especially this video, we're hoping will be a good way for students to get an idea of what things may look like, what will be the same, and what things may be a little different for next year.
Hey,
Kevin, I don't think we have sound.
Yeah, no one can hear the sound.
Say that again, Alan.
No one can hear the sound.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jen, I'm not sure I'm hearing the sound. I don't know. Let's try this.
Nice.
Remember IAA, the Integrated Arts Academy? Well, it's still there. It's the same place. With most of the same people. But this year, some things will be a little different. In order to keep everyone healthy, there will be a few changes this year. One of the biggest changes is that everyone will have to wear a mask. No, not that kind of mask. This kind of mask. Masks keep us safe.
It is important to wear a mask to keep yourself and everyone around you healthy. Make sure that it comes over your nose and snugly around your chin and closed off at your cheeks.
When you arrive at school, you will line up near the door your classroom will use. These students are lining up outside Mr. Leal's classroom. Make sure to keep physically distanced from each other. Someone will take your temperature before you come into the school. We will use this fun little thermometer to make sure you don't have a fever. Whoa, is this some sort of superhero space explorer? No, it's just Nurse Allie. She's going to take Ms. Piper's temperature. Oh, looks like Ms. Piper is good to go. This year, you will have to say goodbye to your family outside the school.
I hope you have a wonderful day at school, son. Thanks, Dad. I'll see you after school.
And as soon as you get to the classroom, you will wash your hands. In fact, we will wash our hands a lot this year.
It's going to be really important for us to wash our hands when we're at school. We want to get the front and the back. It's really important to wash the front of our hands and the back of our hands, rubbing between the fingers and doing it for a good 20 seconds. Wow, my hands are so clean now.
The classrooms will look a little different this year.
Like, hi, IAA. I'm Miss Jackie. I'm in second grade with Miss Rose. And you'll see here our classroom is the same as second grade has been in the past, except there's a couple of differences. This year, to keep you safe, you'll notice the tables look a little different. They're facing a certain way. Last Last year, they might have faced this way. There might have been more tables. This year, there's a little less, all to keep you distanced physically and safe.
And one of the most exciting things about this year is that sometimes we will learn outside, either in the big field or under the new tent or in Roosevelt Park or somewhere in the community. We will still eat breakfast and lunch at school, but we won't be eating in the cafeteria this year. This year, we will eat in our classrooms. Well, those are some of the biggest changes happening this year at IAA, all to keep everyone safe. We can't wait to see you.
And again, thank you to Mr. Leal and all of our staff for putting that.
That was really sweet.
Yes, that video together for our students. So we hope our students will enjoy that and get an opportunity to see it. And just to go over some of our priorities for the school year, so you will know what our focus will be this year. First and foremost, we want, sorry, 1 second here. Go away, go away.
Thanks for bearing with us, everyone.
Yes.
It's a year of change and flexibility, and we got to go with the flow. We're all learning lots about technology.
Yes.
And we're trying to practice our own mindfulness as we learn with the students and we learn with you as families. So when you're having those rough days with technology at home, just know we are there too. We are there with you. So we're all learning together.
One second, let me get rid of that. We'll be right back.
Now you know you guys aren't the only ones. We all have these issues.
What happened?
All of this out of the recording, right?
Yes.
That's not for me to do.
Okay, we're back.
All
We're
right.
back. Thank you for bearing with me on that. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. All right, so our priorities for the year. So one of the first and foremost, we'll be looking to focus on our students and staff returning safely to school. So safety and going through routines is going to be a priority for us this year, especially the first few weeks. We'll spend a lot of time going through those routines, all about safety, which Nurse Allie will talk to us some about next in a few minutes. Our next priority, there are many learning priorities, but math is going to be one of our major priorities, and I'll go into why in a few minutes. Arts integration, integrating and making learning fun, but also extending learning from school to home. We're hoping to do through arts integration. And then of course, social and emotional supports for our students as they return to school. And Nurse Allie, what we're doing to keep everyone safe.
Hi, so just to introduce myself, I'm Nurse Allie. I'm the nurse at IAA, and I just want to say first and foremost that I am so grateful to work with such a great team. I mean, honestly, the safety of your children has been at the forefront of our planning, and I just can't say enough good things about the team that I work with. So I just want to throw that out there first. There's been a lot of planning behind the scenes. So just some things that we're doing to keep everyone safe. So every student this year and staff member have to complete a questionnaire prior to entering the building, which I will go into in the next slide in more detail. But the real kicker is to please, please, please have that done before 7:30. We are going to be running a report. It will be done online. But like I said, I'll be going into more detail in the next slide about that. And then this year, we always want to ensure kids are staying home when sick, but definitely this year, we have a very, very low tolerance of illness just this year to try and keep the whole community safe. And I know that can be really stressful for parents. You know, the winter sniffles, I totally get it. I've got 2 toddlers. I totally am there with you. But just to keep the community safe, we really have to be diligent at keeping kids home when they're sick. If a student is sent home with COVID-like symptoms, which you would obviously hear from me, we are requiring that the student be fever-free for 24 hours without any fever-reducing medication, and that you reach out to your primary care provider or pediatrician just to discuss the symptoms and kind of follow that guidance. So that's just something kind of new this year, not the 24-hour rule, but kind of reaching out to your primary care just to have that discussion. This year, we always encourage hand hygiene, but we are making sure to build that into the schedule this year. We are really pushing that. That is the #1 thing to, you know, prevent illness. And so we are really, 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 you know, pushing that this year. The physical distancing, so for elementary school, it's 3 to 6 feet. We always are aiming for 6 feet when possible, but the guidance did change to 3, so that's currently what we're doing. All staff and students will be wearing masks, so that is the personal protective equipment. And then we are using this year the pod system. So students, the grade is considered a pod, despite like it's not just A day or B day. A and B is considered a pod, but to, you know, make that physical distancing possible and try to make the classes smaller. That's why the A and B days are the way they are. And then obviously we are going to increase the cleaning multiple times throughout the day, and, you know, whenever visibly needed. There we go. So this is sort of the health screening process. The health screening will be available through PowerSchool. We are asking that it is done prior to students arriving to school. Like I said, really aiming for before 7:30, just because we will have to run a report to see which students have and have not completed that. So if you, for some reason, leave the house and you forgot, or like didn't have internet access that day, we will be doing that at school. And they will either report in line where their teachers will be or report to me at the nurses station under the tent. And then everyone's temperature will be taken prior to going in the building. So this is a little diagram that we put together of where students will line up in the morning, because I know the morning routine is a little area of anxiety. So we are asking that all students will stand in a line physically distanced at their designated spots. So there will be a cone with a picture of your classroom teacher at these spots. The younger K through 2, it'll be at their class door. And then the older grades will be at these designated spots because they will have designated doors that they go in to try and combat any clustering of students or congregation. We are also asking that students really try to arrive at 7:45 and not any earlier, just to try and, you know, combat the congregating. It's really hard to have kids standing in a line with nothing to do and keep them occupied. So we're really aiming if you could drop your students off at 7:45 or, you know, in that window before students go in. So 7:45 or 8, between there, it would be really, really, really appreciated.
Thank you, Nurse Allie. Okay, to run through.
I saw one question from the former slide. There were folks were just wondering where Miss Jen's class is, where the entrance to that is.
So Rachel, we're going to answer all questions at the end. I'm collecting them. So I have it, don't worry.
But here is Miss Regina is in for Miss Jen right now. So since the question is there, here's Miss Jen's class on the end. To give an idea of what the school day will look like, for the in-person days, it will be very similar to what school was like pre-COVID when students would return, with the differences that Nurse Allie pointed out for our arrival. So as Nurse Allie said, between 7:45 and 8:10 is when we will have staff present outside to help students with their temperature checks. And if they have not done the health screening at home, we will help with that. But the goal is, prior to students coming, hopefully you have had an opportunity to go through the electronic questionnaire with them prior to coming to school. And then we would repeat the temperature check as they're entering the locations that were designated on the previous diagram. And as we normally do, we'll start with morning meeting or hand washing, as was indicated in our video. And then we will go into our morning meeting, which again is designed to help with building connections and community, but also with social emotional supports for our students. And we will have our normal instructional blocks. And after each instructional block, we will have scheduled hand washing or body break times. We are planning and hoping for opportunities for students to get outdoors during some of these hand washing or body break times and be able to socially distance 6 feet or more to give them a break from their mask, because we realize having a mask on all day can be difficult, not only for students, but also for staff. So we are looking after every instructional block or so to give students an opportunity to get a body break and maybe some fresh air from not having the mask on. On our remote days, this will give an idea of what our remote day schedules will look like. And again, this is if your student is an A day student, but then home on B days or vice versa. We will be looking to try to, if as best you can, structure their day in this manner. It does not necessarily have to meet these times. This is just a sample, but getting them into a routine that they can expect and have some, if possible, structure to what the remote days will look like. And again, the blocks are suggested, but what we will be looking to do, which I'll talk to in the next couple of slides, about how the connections from in-person to remote learning are hoped to happen. But as you notice, you'll see here, there'll be time for math, some brain breaks, literacy, social emotional activities, some time for lunch, again, brain breaks and outside time. And then we'll be looking to build in our arts integration focus on learning, where we incorporate science and social study themes, and then potentially ending with some journaling, drawing, reflection, writing activities as a way for students to reflect on their learning. So for our in-person day learning, the focus of what we will be doing when students are here with us is introducing new learning targets and new content while they're here face-to-face with us. So we will, unlike the spring, it will give us face-to-face time where we can go into content, go into our curriculum, and build that learning for students, providing instruction on key skills connected to our priority standards, and then using our different assessments to determine where students are in their understanding of those skills, providing a learning theme. And the learning themes we hope are going to be important to help keep you informed, but also our students understanding how the learning connects, and also making those connections between school and home, and how the assignments and enrichment or extension activities that they're doing connect to their in-person and at-home days. We see our unified arts as a way to embed and foster some of the engaging or students' passions into our learning as we seek to incorporate those things. And then of course, while they're here, we'll be focusing on intervention and meeting students where they are and helping to fill any gaps or supports that may be needed while they're here with us in school. For the remote day, again, this will be what we've defined as asynchronous lessons that are connected to the learning targets that we will be focusing on while they are here with us. And then we will be looking to have practice and extension activities based on the learning that they've done in their in-person days. What some of those extension and practice activities may look like are critical thinking, problem or project-based activities aligned to the learning targets, again, that they focus on when they are with us here in person. Some of the suggestions for some of those opportunities will be coming from our UA team as a way to offer menu and integration into those learning and activities, again, to keep it engaging, but also to allow students to be creative and innovative in how they're expressing their learning. And then whether it's in person or at home, but definitely when they're at home, we hope to have some feedback and reflection of their learning for their day. So as they come back to in person, it will allow us to check in with them on how they believe their learning and activities went during their remote days, which will allow us to start the cycle over again at meeting them where they are and continuing to adjust learning targets as we continue to determine where students are in their learning, and hopefully making the in-person and remote as rich and robust as we can with those check-ins. So this is a slide to help families understand some of the summaries of the school day. Again, our school day still will begin on at 8:10 each day except for Wednesdays, which is a remote day for all students. We are asking, so staff are here to help, that students arrive between 7:45 and 8:10 and wait to enter in the designated spaces that was indicated on the diagram that Nurse Allie spoke about, to help with minimizing the amount of people in the building. It is a universal guideline for all of our schools that we're asking, excuse me, families to say goodbye outside of the building and not enter. That will help us with disinfecting and also making sure we're limiting the number of people in the building. Breakfast will be delivered to all classes for our students. So as they go in, wash their hands, get settled, our nutrition team will be delivering breakfasts to the classes and students will be able to eat breakfast there. For lunch, pre-K to second grade will also have lunch delivered to the classroom for them. Our third through fifth graders will come down in a socially distant line to pick their lunches up and then take them back to the classroom to eat in the classroom. So this will allow us to avoid students congregating in an area like the cafeteria, which they've done for lunch before. Dismissal is still at 2:50 p.m. If you have a kindergartner, one correction in the letter you received, just to clarify, the first week, September 8th through 11th, are half days for kindergartners. September 14th, the beginning of the next week, kindergartners will start their first full days. And the philosophy in the district behind that is it allows maybe a little more transition for our kindergartners into school and allow them to build that stamina up the first week before starting their first full day on the 14th. As we bring students back in for academics and reentry, we are mindful, and there are studies across the nation that talk about and give us insight into some of the learning gaps and inequities that may have happened during our shutdown and while students were home in the spring for 100% remote learning. So we want to be conscious of that. We're adjusting our curriculum for this year to focus on priorities. And as we do that, what that means is we'll be looking to accelerate and scaffold. So we will analyze in our teams in the extra time that we've had this 2 weeks while we've delayed the start of school. Part of what our teams have been doing is focusing on the curriculum, collaborating, looking back at the last year to determine where gaps may lie from March to June. And the way we will try to address those gaps is by accelerating the learning from last year into and scaffolding it into the work of this year. As we look at materials, tasks, and assignments, how do we scaffold and accelerate last year's learning by working with students in their learning and filling the most critical gaps, not in isolation, but in the moments of the curriculum as we're teaching and working it. So if you have a second grader, for example, the second grade priorities will drive their learning targets, but we will be looking to differentiate and also provide experiences from last year that help support students with some of those learning areas that may have not been addressed or hit as solidly as we would have liked in that March to June period. So this is a study, and one of the reasons we've chosen math as a priority, the Northwest Evaluation Association, or NWEA, has studies that shows all of our subjects are important, But as you read through this for yourself, there are potentially steeper losses in mathematics than reading. So we want to make sure we will still be focusing on reading, writing, science, math, science, writing, and our other subjects, our UAs. However, we really want to make sure we don't do a disservice to students in the areas of math. And what studies are showing is some students could come in a half or maybe even a whole year behind because of the regression or time away from mathematics that we've had. So we really want to make sure we're doing as prioritizing our focus on making sure that our students are able to close any gaps and get a solid foundation this year so that as they move forward, we're making sure we're not creating opportunities where as they go from year to year, they're playing catch up. We'll be looking to accelerate and scaffold, especially in mathematics, as much as we can to make sure that students are on grade level. And again, this is just some more data from NWEA in a summary that shows that, you know, as students return in the fall, about 70% of their learning gains are forecasted for a typical year. However, in the area of mathematics, it could be as much as a 50% difference in where they would have been had we been continuing in school. So just a little more data. And once you have this from our website, and we will share this slide presentation on our website when this is over. Hopefully it will be up by tomorrow. It may take a little time to upload, but once you have this slide deck, you can click on this link and it will take you to the full article explaining why mathematics is an area that schools should be focused on and making sure that we are ensuring the students have their solid learning in the area of math. And arts integration and unified arts. Miss Emily.
All right, so it's my turn. So arts integration is always a focus for us at IAA. And so this year, it was really exciting to me, at least, to see the district making project-based learning such a focus, a strategy that we will use to leverage deep learning. So at IAA, we use arts integration to do that real deep learning, meaningful learning, place-based learning with students. So our arts integration units, as always, will include goals in math, literacy, social studies, science, social emotional learning, as well as the arts. And we will still do those co-teaching blocks in grades K through 5. I'm going to be spearheading kindergarten and first grade still. 2 through 5 will be a team effort between our art teacher, music teacher, drama, and now Miss Jen is going to be integrating library media, tech integration into that as well. This year, we're modifying a little bit with the actual structure of it, the format, but also we're going to do, each grade level is identifying a theme or an essential question to explore through these interdisciplinary units that last all year. And they're exploring these themes or essential questions through the various art forms. So I'm really excited to see the different connections that kids make through these themes. So more on that to come. We're deep in the planning stages of that currently. And so these themes, these concepts, these arts integrated units will be explored in-person days and at home. So we are working different ways of how that can be supported at home as well. So a bit about the format. We have 5 unified arts teachers who will be on a 2-week rotation. So your child will be, let me back up. So each UA teacher will have 3 classes each day. They will have either a 45-minute block with the K1 age level. 2 through 5, these classes are going to be 75 minutes. So that's their normal 45-minute unified arts time, plus the co-teaching time. We're using that 75-minute block as one sort of unit. And the rationale behind having the art teacher in 3 different classes for 2 weeks is just to limit that cross contact across pods. So they will get the same unified art for 2 weeks and then they'll move on to the next one. and they'll move through that in 2-week rotations, and then they'll come back again to the beginning. They will have opportunities. So let's say your student is in music and has not had art for 4 weeks, loves art. So they will have opportunities to engage with the art teacher in other ways, such as activities that are posted online, or read alouds, or I know Ms. Jen will be doing book checkout. Our PE teacher will be offering movement breaks all outside, even when those students are not in his active 2-week rotation. So we've reformatted it. We basically reinvented the wheel on the schedule here to allow for that balance of safety and meaningful curriculum and engagement with the arts. Trying to just glance, what have I missed? Oh, so the UA teachers are going to be pushing into classrooms. The library will be used by Miss Jen. She will be bringing books to the classrooms. The art teacher will be bringing art supplies to the classroom. Then I think I've covered everything. Sorry, just glancing back through the notes. So I think this is my last slide. We're really excited to be able to continue the arts integration co-teaching. I said all this is a repeat. I apologize. I guess I was so thorough, I put it twice. Or maybe I was so excited I put it twice. We are into planning, how are we gonna do town meetings this year? We won't be able to assemble in the gym per usual, so we are going to be moving it online, and we are going to be offering that for viewings in the classroom and making those recordings available to families to view together. And we're trying to find ways that are engaging for students. We can't do necessarily a live performance in person anymore, so we're really brainstorming hard about how to have fun with this in the new format. So that still will be honored, that tradition. I am hopefully submitting a grant application for our whole school residency tomorrow. And this has the support of the PTO as well. The theme will be engaging with your community through art. So public art, bringing art from the school out into community and vice versa, because learning is going to be happening throughout Burlington in school and in your house and you know, Hotel Vermont and all these other spaces that perhaps weren't identified as learning spaces prior. One thing's with Mr. Bryan, it's in the works. It will be outdoors. Singing outside is deemed safe as long as you follow proper protocol. So we're working through that with the K2 crowd. One strings, we are looking at how to do that safely with the 4-5 classes. Right now we are gonna kind of push pause on what that might look like and how it'll happen until October. We're gonna get students back in the building and see what how the schedule is feeling and what feels safe and manageable for all parties involved. So more on that to come. You may have seen an email go out from me about Flynn offerings. They have a bunch of great classes right now on remote days that you can sign up for, and they have a pay what you can scale for payment. And we're hoping that more things will come from that Flynn partnership soon. So stay tuned. Information is forthcoming.
Okay, so library services. So just in case you didn't hear me before, I'm Miss Jen. I'm the librarian at IAA. I'm not the BSD superintendent, as my label says. So library services, good news. Students absolutely will have access to library books this year. They just will not be allowed into the library. So me and my library pair spent the day clearing off an extra cart that is in my closet. I'm going to be doing some work to make it look flashy and exciting, and I will be, for the beginning, bringing my mobile book cart and a scanner and a Chromebook into classrooms to check books out to kids. That is deemed safe as long as they sanitize their hands before they select a book. And then I'll be wearing gloves. I will scan it, hand the book back to them, and they can go to their desk and read it, or it can go into their designated location in their classroom. I am suggesting that books don't come back and forth, just because they tend to get lost, especially when we have a lot of transitions. But if that happens, that happens. And I would rather kids be reading than, know where a library book is and get it back in the end. So, we all make some concessions, and we try our best. So what K2 students, I'm going to also be creating paper book choice menus, so that I can get an idea of genres and what they want, and then I will bring those selections to them either when I'm in their pod or when I'm not. So since I have 2-week pod rotations, I will not be seeing your kids for several weeks. So I'm going to try to make sure I get these papers out to teachers and have them come back to me, so that I can keep facilitating book rotations, especially in the K2s. For 3-5s, we're working with our school's IT department to turn on the Google login for our library catalog. I'm in the process of trying to switch it over to a more user-friendly format that accepts spelling errors. The current way our catalog works, if a child enters something wrong, they just don't get a book. So they'll be able to put books on hold, and I will be able to deliver them exactly what they're looking for. All books, when they come back to the library, will be quarantined for 5 days before they are checked in, and then allowed to recirculate. Guidance from the Vermont School Librarian Association and from the American Library Association says 3 to 5, but it depends on the materials that the books are made of. Picture books have very glossy pages. Those are recommended to be quarantined for 5 days. So instead of trying to figure out multiple systems, I'm going with a standard 5 days, and I have bins that I will put them in when they come back to the library. So I'm currently working on getting different ebook and audiobook subscriptions for the library. The hard part that I'm coming across is trying to find compatibility with iPads and Chromebooks. Things that you can do on iPads, you can't necessarily access on a Chromebook. So in the meantime, while I try to figure that out, I am suggesting to please get a Fletcher Free library card. Fletcher Free has several different services online, and you may have already discovered this, but they have several different services online for getting ebooks and audiobooks, and they're going to be our sort of fill-in for now until I can figure out what will work best for our school and our students.
Hi everyone, Jen, you're all done? I'm just checking. Looks like you're done. Hi everyone, I am Meredith Hoisington. I'm the school counselor at IAA. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about social and emotional supports. And obviously, that is it's really important to us at IAA, and it's a foundation really for all the other learning that's happening. So we really value this and take it seriously. So traditionally, I've done the targeted SEL classes for grades 3 and 5, and then I do weekly K2 classes. So about identifying feelings, learning how to show feelings, how thoughts and feelings affect how people are feeling about us. You can go, there you go. Self-regulation skills, anti-racist awareness, bullying and harassment prevention I provide to the whole school. It will look a little bit different this year probably, and I would also suspect that I will be with the other K-5 school counselors in the district putting together some tools that we can share remotely so that kids who are at home can also access some of this. So just some of the things I use, we do a lot of mindfulness, and I use the Mindful Schools curriculum, zones of regulation in terms of self-regulation skills, developing those, social thinking, second step, and then we do restorative practices, the tier 1 circle. So meeting with kids this year is going to look a little different. I'm going to be going into the classrooms a lot more and focusing a little more on K through 2, and then going in as needed 3 through 5. So I will be meeting with kids individually. I'm going to, follow the protocols. At this point, it's, we can go outside, but folks have started asking if I would meet with kids. So I still am planning on doing that. I don't know about a group. That might be something if you're feeling like, remotely, that's something that you're wanting. Maybe especially for folks who are remote learning, that might be something that you're interested in. Just let me know. So if you're feeling like you want a little more services, just let me know. If you can email me or just call the school, and Kurt will direct you. So, so just a little bit of
in here a little bit too, Meredith.
What's that?
I can jump in here a little bit too. I'm Michelle. I'm the school psychologist, and Meredith and I partner closely together in supporting the students social emotionally. I think the big thing that I just wanted to emphasize is this is at the forefront of what we are working on. We care deeply about kids. We've been having a lot of really meaningful conversations wrapping around restorative practices, thinking about the social emotional needs of our kids and equity all wrapped together. And we are on this journey with you to take care of our community, because this has impacted us all. So we'll be continuing to use those community building restorative practices. We know that we heal best when we are connected in relationship with others. So we're going to keep supporting those positive, healthy relationships through things like ROAR that you hear your kids talking about, the positive behavior supports. We're going to keep doing those things. They might look a little bit different, but just know that we are really wrapping our heads around how to support our kids' mental health and social emotional skills during this time.
So these are just, I don't know that we need to go through all these, but the circle questions, especially in the beginning of the year, are really low risk. So these are just some sample questions that teachers might use. There are a lot of other ones, but just team building, increasing trust, between kids, and just developing those classroom communities. So.
Yep, and just some images of you'll hear kids talking about circles. We're still going to do circles. They will be at a distance, and sometimes they will be virtual. We're going to explore some more of that. Some people did really great virtual circles in the spring, and we're going to build off of that. We're going to keep our positive expectations roar going. And we've kind of touched on this already, but just restorative practices is really key to what we do here in Burlington. It's an Indigenous-based philosophy, and it just really prioritizes those connections. And it's part of the reasoning that we use it is it's kind of a way to really look at things through community building, and if something doesn't go so well, repairing that harm instead of looking at it as a really punitive kind of old school way of looking at it. I think we've
covered this. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for listening.
So thank you, team, for sharing. And so this is our opportunity for questions. So again, Ms. Jen will moderate and try to take some of the questions that have been posed during this presentation. But again, I want to thank the team for being present for this, but also putting together what we hope is, just some information to help you know what our focus and what students can expect over the course of this year. But again, just to recap, first and foremost, we want to make sure our students are returning to a safe environment. So we will spend lots and lots of time early on learning, focusing on those routines, We will then get into our academics. There's a lot that we want to do. We want to make sure our students are well supported academically so that we can make up for lost time, but also just making sure they're okay and that they can continue learning in a way that's fun, engaging, and just a rich experience for them while being mindful of those learning targets we have for them. And as Meredith and Michelle just said, forming those connections, reacquainting them with the community that is IAA. One of the things that I learned and first year got to see here is a really strong community, and we've got some work to do. Students have been disconnected from that for about a half a year now, so we really want to reconnect them and get them to be, make sure that we're being intentional about reestablishing that sense of community, and then being here as a part of our IA family away from your family. They're a part of our school family here, so we want them to know that, to feel that, and make sure we are spending time being intentional and strategic on how we build environment to make that happen. But so that's a quick summary. So now, Ms. Jen, if you want to pull a few questions for us that hopefully we have answers for. And let me say that, there are going to be some things that we're still figuring out in this. Globally, our nation, our state, our city, communities are all in uncharted territory. But we're coming at this with a solutions-based mindset and understanding that patience, flexibility, we all are in this together for the betterment of our students. So as you have questions, as things come up, we may have some things may still be in the decision-making processes, but we will take those and that feedback or those wonderings or questions and seek to find answers for them if we don't immediately have them.
Okay, so Kevin, this first question, there's only about like 9 questions, which isn't bad, but this first question I'm going to address to you because it's come up a couple times in the comments. Parents are wondering if you could speak to the first grade teacher decision, and parents were wondering why they weren't necessarily notified that Miss Jen was not going to be their child's first grade teacher. So I know there's a lot packed into that question, but if you could just talk to that process a bit.
Yeah, so I'll speak to that quickly. So these decisions just happened within the last couple of weeks. Staff, if they, under FMLA and things that are going on, if any staff person feels that or has a reason why it may not be safe for them to be here, they can request an accommodation that goes to Human Resources. Human Resources has a conversation with that person to determine whether those accommodations are to be approved. So about 2 weeks ago that happened. Until that happens and a decision is made, it is protected rights. So until that approval is given, I cannot, and I am not aware, and then it comes to me through an approval to act on. So that happened. The position is currently posted. Once that approval was made, we were able to move forward with the posting. So it is posted. In the meantime, that takes time for a position to be posted and to be able to find a licensed teacher this time of year. So we are seeking and hoping to find someone. In the meantime, Ms. Regina, a licensed teacher and interventionist, we're fortunate to have her there. It is my goal that we will find someone based on the timeline that we were given in this process. August or late August is not the most opportune time to recruit or find licensed teachers, but we're hopeful. So, and we're thankful that Ms. Regina and our students will have not only a veteran and a licensed teacher, but one that knows IA, knows the students, and is skilled in intervention support in there until we're able to find a licensed teacher to fill in for Ms. Jen.
Kevin, do you mind if I jump in for a second?
Sure.
Is that okay? I was just going to say, just reminding, Jen didn't know really until very recently. Excuse me, Pat. She's rather assertive. And then the other thing is Regina's really excited, so just know that. She knows the benefit of her being in this position, is she knows a lot of the kindergartners already, and knows them much more so than Jen would have. And she's really excited. Like, she's just done a lot in the classroom to get ready. So just know that she's, there are a lot of people who are very excited to have her teaching because they know she'll be great. So.
Yeah, thank you for that, Meredith. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, another question. And Kevin, I guess this could be answered by you or by Emily. So is there, sorry, I gotta find it. Will remote learners be included in the school community, unified arts, town meetings? Can someone speak to what the plan for our remote learners is?
So I'll speak in general, and then Emily may be passed to you with our community and town meeting, Friday town meetings and other things. So we are, of course, getting our teachers' routines and things down is important as well. We will be exploring opportunities. We will have an opportunity for remote learners to join on the Wednesday schedules. If you've seen in the letters, and we will reshare in our newsletter, but our Wednesday schedules allows between 9 and 10 o'clock an opportunity for virtual connections while students are at home working remotely. So that will be an opportunity to build community across our remote learners and students that are here in our hybrid schedule is the plan as I understand it right now. And then within IAA, as Emily shared and can jump in again, there are other opportunities we're looking at within IAA to build upon some of those opportunities as well. So Emily, if you want to share again some of those thoughts.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this a bit. So with, for example, like with the whole school residency, we have written a layer into our planning specific to those remote only kids, because it's really important to all of the adults in the building that those kids are able to stay connected with this community, because it is such an important part of, their lives. So engaging with the teaching artist remotely, engaging with the larger scale public art project from the comfort of their homes, and then walking around the community. So that's one piece of it. The town meetings will be pre-recorded, so those recordings will be made available to everybody every week. And I am going to work out the logistics of we're going to do student of the week, and so there will be remote students of the week, because those 100% remote students will have other teachers. So we'll find a way to make that work to honor all of that great learning that they're doing as well. And then with the unified arts teachers, the activities that they are recording, the galleries that they're going to be posting on a blog, any of those lessons that they are recording, those will also be available to any student connected to IAA. That's all I got so far, but I'm working on it. I hope that's enough to start with.
That sounds good. This sounds like a lot. Don't worry. So sort of connected to remote. So one of the questions was, is there a possibility to switch from all remote to hybrid after the first trimester if parents are feeling that the remote only option is not working for their student?
I'll jump in there and say there will be opportunities. The district is currently working on some guidance in draft form for when those opportunities and transitions may happen. One of the things that is being considered in that guidance is in trying to provide structure for planning. The district is looking to provide transition points for that question. So for example, if you have a student who's 100% remote right now, there will be transition windows. And one of the reasons, just to give an idea of why things like that are important, is because based on the number of students that have signed up for 100% remote, the district has staffed a team to serve or to support those students. So as students make or families make different choices, it does have staffing and planning implications. So the short answer is yes, there will be opportunities to reconsider. And as I understand it right now, there will be communication that comes out to our entire district about when those benchmarks. So for example, it may be relatively soon now as we're starting the year, and the next point could be at the 9-week mark as a projected time point for reassessing which mode of learning may be best for your student and families.
Thank you, Kevin. Another question about the remote day schedule. The sample remote day schedule feels a little bit intense. Are students really expected to work all day at home as if they are at school?
Yes, so this, one of the things we learned in the spring, this will be differentiated, and we're talking about a menu of options. Different families are in different places. So one of the major feedback points we had in the spring, it's a spectrum. Some families wanted more rigor, more intensity in the learning than was provided in the spring. Other families and students were not in that situation and could not handle a full day or structure. So what we will be seeking to do, again, that was a sample schedule. Again, your own schedule and structure within your home, you will work to fit your student, your family's needs. So again, that was just a sample. Research and studies say the most important thing, whatever, if you can set up a structure and systems that are consistent for students so they know what to expect when they're in their remote learning days, whatever that may look like, we think that's going to be the most important part. And then as we're getting into our learning and communicating what students' learning targets are, what the content is, and then a menu of ways to engage in that, and then integrated through our learning, through our arts integration, you can determine how to pace and how to structure the day at home. And then you will have us as a support for the in-person days as students hopefully reflect with you through journaling, through their drawing, and that comes back to us. It will give us an idea of what students engaged in, where they are in their remote, and then we'll be looking to help partner with you in this to help fill the gap. So one major difference is than it was in the spring, we didn't have the in-person touch point days with students in the spring. So we really will be looking to maximize the in-person time to help better partner with what's happening at home. And at least that's our goal. But again, understand we will have to differentiate this. Different families are in different places. Some families, based on feedback, are looking for more intensity and rigor. And we understand that all families may not have that capacity at home. So we look to be flexible and be able to meet students and families where they are and provide each family with what they need.
All right, Kevin, another question is the health screenings. Parents are wondering if there's maybe an app that is being thought of instead of having to go into Power School. I don't know how to answer that.
So I can jump in. I just got off of a meeting from 4 to 5 o'clock before this meeting. As a principal, that was one of our requests as well. So right now, as far as I know, there isn't yet, but that is the meeting week. That's a recommendation that as a principal group, we're putting forward as well. So fingers crossed, we're hoping that there will be something a little more efficient in helping to have that happen at home. So, you know, you can help us voice that and respond. We are capturing data the first week through Power School to be able to show access and how many families are actually able to access it before 7:30 as a data point to either support that Power School is great for the most part, or if many of our families aren't able to access the questionnaire that way, the data will help speak and support the fact that maybe we can come up with an app or something that's a little more effective and helpful.
Excellent. Okay, there's only a couple more left, so we're doing pretty good on time. Another question, maybe this is for Kevin and Allie, because I know you've been working on it. Congestion avoidance strategies at drop-off in the morning. I know
Could you repeat that again?
Congestion avoidance strategies during morning drop-offs at school. Any ideas
as in
on how to
traffic flow
that?
congestion, not like nasal congestion, but
as in assuming it was not very clear, maybe, but I'm going to assume that it is the drop off in the parking lot and playgrounds and whatnot. So just speak a little more to maybe the morning, what that will look like.
You know, we are in a great community. IA is a great school. We know that traffic flow is a challenge. We're hoping one thing that might be a little different than in the typical year, we'll have approximately half of our students each day. So again, the goal of the hybrid schedule is social distancing, but also managing many of these types of things. So hopefully in morning drop-offs with approximately half of our population, that will be a little smoother. We will have many more adults outside during the morning as a part of our health screening process to be able to support some of these things. So it's something we'll be keeping an eye on, but we also will have more hands on deck to potentially support those. And Allie, I've been doing a lot of talking. I'll let you jump in here if you want.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that my diagram was not to scale at all. Those X's actually look much closer than what the students will be lining up in. And just to second what Kevin said, we're going to have a lot of staff outside to try and control congregating. And so we're hoping that with the screening process happening at home, that this can go rather quickly and students can get into their classrooms as quickly as possible.
Okay. Question about the amount of breaks during the day. Is it more or less than a typical school day?
Definitely more breaks. What we're advising and guidance is pretty much after every instructional block, there will be hand washing, mini hand washing as our video alluded to or pointed out. Many hand washing breaks. And again, we're hoping to build in more movement breaks to allow students to get outside, even if it's just for 5 minutes, to distance 6 feet or more and be able to take their mask off, breathe, and come back in, just to help with them being comfortable. So there definitely will be more breaks. And again, we're looking at not only learning, but whole child development and comfort. So we don't want to be so focused on learning that we're not focused on students' well-being. So there will definitely be more breaks than we've had in a typical year.
Okay, 2 more questions and that's it. So
All right.
yay.
We're good. We're good.
We're good. Next question. Math support for students who have not fallen behind in math or are ahead. So what sort of are we thinking for students that may have used this opportunity to really beef up some skills?
So again, that's where if you go back, when you have an opportunity to go back in this slide, where our menu for critical thinking and our project or problem-based activities that students are engaging in will allow us to hopefully differentiate for where students are. So for the students who have been engaged in math and we're looking to have them be able to express or implement that learning, then the projects and critical thinking problems or activities that they engage in will allow them to enhance and enrich their learning, whereas other students, we may be looking to close gaps in some of those opportunities and activities they're engaging in. So we're planning for that to be a part of our menu of options for students and what it is that they're focusing on in those project-based learning opportunities that they will engage in.
Okay, and our final question of the evening, unless another one sneaks in, is how will EL teachers support students this year? There are so many, and some of the concerns are pod crossing. So if someone could speak to that.
If anyone else, I've been talking a lot, if anyone else wants to jump in, they can. If not, I'll take it.
Well,
I can sort of, go ahead, Meredith.
No, I was just going to say that what we were talking about today is that a pod is actually the whole class. And right, Allie? I mean, you should speak to this, but so it's really not crossing the pod. So yeah, you should go.
So yeah, and I just want to make it clear that for supporting students, there are going to be people who have to cross pods, such as myself. I'm one nurse and I have to serve the whole school. Same with Kevin, Michelle, Meredith. So this is where contact tracing comes in. We're going to have a sign in at every classroom door. So everyone entering the classroom will be logged in. So just out of supports for students, we are going to have some, quote unquote contamination of pods, but we are really, really trying to keep that to a minimum. And so we have built in like special schedules, rearranged people's schedules so that if they do have to go into a pod, they're spending the most amount of time in that pod and then switching and not crossing back and forth multiple times a day. So we've been really diligent about the scheduling of people who need to break pods to try and make it as minimal as possible.
And just to piggyback on what Allie is sharing, for the most part, most of our teams, whether it's for our EL student support or our students with individualized education plans, it's approximately 2 to 3 pods that they would be pushing into out of our building of 14 pods, K to 5. So as Allie said, we've been mindful of trying to do as much minimization as possible with supporting our students without crossing as many pods as possible. So there's a fine line of balance between what's needed for our staff to be able to support the EL students where they are with the number of staff we have, while trying to minimize crossing of pods as much as possible. So it was a lot of work and planning to get it down to that number of each team member and the students they're serving being approximately 3 pods or classrooms in grade levels.
Kevin, that was our final question of the evening. There doesn't seem to have been any other ones, but for anybody who didn't get a chance to ask or is feeling like they need some think time and might have a question later, don't forget, I'm going to go in and probably change the title of the post, but the post is currently Welcome Back Student and Families Meeting. The Google form is attached to that post on the IAA webpage in several locations on the webpage, so you should be able to find it. And yeah, it's just a quick Google form where you can write your questions. It will be sent to the entire panel, and you will eventually get an answer.
Great. Well, thank you again to our panel. Thank you again to the families that joined us tonight. If you have neighbors that were not able to join us, and again, we will push this once it is downloaded and a link is available through our YouTube playlist, we will push it out for access. And again, hopefully a resource that will help you as you're having conversations with your children preparing for next week. But those that are here, we thank you for being here. We thank you for being a part of our IA community. Remember, we're partners in this. We're figuring many of these things out together. So I invite you to be thought partners with us. Join our PTO. We will be having more dialogue in our PTO meetings where we can talk back and forth instead of the webinar format. So we hope to see you at PTO. Again, Kate is looking for a eager and energetic president ready to jump in and help us with much of this work. So there is a lot of work, dedication, commitment happening for our students. We hope you will be part of that and partnering with us. And we're really excited to have the opportunity to be back. We know there were a lot of challenges with the spring and being fully remote. So we want to be safe. So hopefully we're increasing the number of days and don't fall backwards is our hope to have to go back fully remote. So we're really excited to have our kids back. And we look forward to seeing you next week as you're dropping them off as well. So on behalf of all of us, thank you and have a great evening.